Hello and welcome to another DGCAD Consulting training video for Revit Building 8 on our A to Z program part 1. And we're down to our lesson 6. There was a 5A and a 5B for structural. So we're talking about views in this lesson, and we're going to deal with the views design bar. And with that we're going to learn about creating floor plans, creating ceiling plans, sections, elevations, callouts, drafting views, and plan regions. A very relative topic to views as well is the visibility graphics and view properties as well. So this is almost all one great big lesson in here. So we're going to break it up into two lessons, being views first. So just switching over here to my Revit, I'm going to go open up a new file. So I'm going to go File, and I'm going to hit Open, and I'm going to go down to my training files as I've been doing all the way along. Click Metric. I'm going to go down to this drawing here called Plan Region, which is kind of a split level. I'm going to open up that project. And there it's opening in the last view it had, which is a 3D ortho view, which can be spun around. We have a first floor there. We have second floor, which sees part of the first floor there down below, and then we have a third floor which is showing us the roof plan. And the reason why we're seeing that as well is we're seeing that in shaded mode. If I type HL, I'll see that in hidden line mode. And I can see what my problem there is, that I'm trying to change my view of that roof, and it's because of the material color. I'm going to actually go into that roof object and click on Edit, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit on the structure, and I'm going to go in and actually edit that object. And I'm going to pick on the material, a little bit outside of our lesson here, but that's okay. I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick a lighter material for the surface and the cutting patterns, fill patterns, and hit Apply on that. Okay, I was over here, pick those colors inside of here, hit Apply, hit OK. That's where I went in, hit OK, hit OK, and OK, and come back out, and there's my roof. It looks a little bit lighter. So then that looks a little easier on the eye. Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this views tab on the design bar. So if I go back to, for instance, doesn't matter, on my first floor plan, or even let's go to my second floor plan, we're going to just basically work our way through these different commands down to about the camera, and then we'll do some of this stuff in a different lesson. So to start with, if we go in and we pick floor plan, when we create a floor plan, basically we're making a floor plan based on levels that are already there. So if you have a level created, you can create a floor plan off it. You can also duplicate a floor plan this way. So let's say I want a floor plan with a different cut plane or a different set of annotations. I can click on this and I can say, okay, type is floor plan, and now I'm going to create a new one in there, and it's going to show up. Okay, and there's my problem right away. When I go in to hit my floor plan, I've got to make sure I take this check mark off which says do not duplicate existing views. In this case, what I want to do is duplicate that view, and I can hit OK, and it'll create another view over here based on that first view, and then I can right click on here and I can rename, and I can call this, you know, level 2 furniture, something like that. And then I can have furniture objects show up in this view where they don't show up, and I would have a level 2. I should have my 2 on there as well, and I could do that, and then I could change that view different from this one, but it's copied from that. I can also right click on here, as we saw in our earlier lessons, and we can say duplicate, or we can say duplicate this view with detailing, okay, to create a copy of that. And then the best to experiment with that duplicating and see what objects get duplicated and what objects don't. So that's just kind of how we create a floor plan. If you go in and you make a level, if you go down to your elevational view here somewhere, and if you add in a level by going to our basics tab here, and clicking on the level tool, which is only available if you're in a section or elevational view, and I click on that level, it's automatically going to create a new floor plan over here for me. And if I click on there, you can see how the name coordinates back to being level 5 over there. And that's interesting because I've created a new level and it labeled it level 5, but it's actually level 4. It looks like if I take this level here and I delete it, it looks like it's deleting level 4 with it. So generally when you go in, the point being here, and then we add a level, if the check mark says make plan view, that means that when you click on it, it'll actually make the plan view when you do it, and then you can click on here and you can say whether you want a ceiling plan or a floor plan when you do it. Sometimes you don't want a ceiling plan to be created when you create your floor plan, so you can check this on or off as you please, because sometimes they don't need one, like a foundation doesn't need a ceiling plan. And then you just click and drag it inside of here. Once again, hit escape. Oh, hit my help menu again there. And then you can see here it's called it level 8 because it keeps counting them up, and there's my level 8 over there, has my dimensions on there as well. So creating floor plans from your view, you can do from creating the floor plan from here, creating here and right clicking, or sorry, going in here and right clicking on a plan and saying duplicate with detailing, or you can say view, new, and then all of these are the same as these ones over here. So they've taken basically this pull down menu that I'm looking at and placed it over here on the design bar. So then you could go down in here and say, you know, area plan, floor plan, ceiling plan, same type of thing. So you're basically getting your plans, and then when we talk about the we get to the next lesson, I'm going to delete that. You will see how visibility ties in with this. So, after we learn how to create our views, then we learn how to control the visibility within the different views. So that's floor plans. Ceiling plans, as I said, when you create a floor plan, generally it creates a ceiling plan with it unless you say not to. So ceiling plans, we can go in, for instance, let's go to our level 2 ceiling plan over here, or level 1 ceiling plan over here. Level 3, and I think we'll stick with level 2 on this, and you can see level 2 reflected ceiling plan. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to turn the roof off in this view. So I'm going to go in here outside of our topic for just quick invisibility and graphics, and I'm going to go down, and in this view over here I'm going to take and turn the roof off completely and hit apply and hit OK, so I can kind of get rid of that. Now, ceiling objects attached to ceiling plans. Okay, so now I can go into modeling and I can say, okay, add a new ceiling in here, and I can look at that ceiling and I can say, okay, this is the offset from the level. Go inside of here, has more information on that. So there's my ceiling grid that's going to come in, and as I place it, I click on the ceiling, and then I can go into sketch mode, and what I do is I say, okay, well, I'm just going to do, you know, basically it's just like doing a floor. I can use pick point, and I can pick the insides of these walls and then use my trim. So it's that same old sketch mode that we've seen in the past for doing a ceiling plan. Okay, and then finish the sketch, and then puts that in there for me. Okay, and so I've got that ceiling in there. The problem now is that, well, the ceiling just doesn't have a grid. It's a very plain ceiling. So I'm going to go over to the edge. I'm going to hit my tab button until I get that ceiling. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to go up into here, and I'm going to change the ceiling style to be a 600 by 1200 grid, and then I'm going to get that in there. If I want to put another ceiling in, I can go into ceiling, and then I go into sketch mode and I repeat that same exercise. This time maybe I'll use my rectangle command to click inside of here, and I'm also going to draw another rectangle inside of here, which is going to be a hole, and then I'm going to say finish sketch, and then I'm going to do the same thing with that. I'm going to use my tab button, I could have done it while I was in the sketch mode, I presume, and then go down and change this to be a 600 by 600 grid, and then we can go in and grab this anytime we want, go back into edit mode, and then we can take this object and then we can finish that. Same as when we cut holes in floors. Okay. If we want to show where the doors are in here, we want to move our cut plane down inside of here, and then we want to turn a couple things off, just like the door swing and the door panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right click in here and go into view properties. And down in here I'm going to go to the view range, and I'm going to move my cut plane right now is above the door, so I'm going to move that down to be about 1500. Going to hit apply and hit OK and hit OK. And then I'm going to go in and turn the door swing and the door panel off. And by moving our view range cut plane down again back into here, we can go down, we can move that to be 1500, and it's based on relative to the second floor because we used the second floor to do the reflected ceiling plan. So now what's happened, which is done what we want to do, over here now these windows have shown up, and there's actually not any doors in the drawing, so I might actually go back to my level 2, for instance, in my floor plan to demonstrate this fully. And if I add in a couple of doors over here, I might want to see where those doors are in my reflected ceiling plan over here. So what happens is I want to see the opening, but I don't want to see the swing, so I move my cut plane down just like I did. But now I'm going to right click and I'm going to go into view properties again, and I'm going to go to visibility, and I'm actually going to go to doors, and I'm going to say, okay, doors are fine, but I don't want to see the swing in plan, and I don't want to see the panel in plan, and that should do it. Let's hit OK, and there we have it. So we can see our windows, we can see our doors because we moved our cut plane down in our view range. And then if I look at this in 3D, we'll be able to see our ceilings. Okay, it's a split level. Remember, this is our level 2 over here, and there's our 1500 cutting through looking up at our ceiling plan. We can't see these windows over here because our cut plane is up high, so that's where we actually go in our reflected ceiling plan, for instance, and we can go down here into our views and go to one of our other topics, which is a plan region. And now what I can do is I can form on this, I can segregate an area and say, using my rectangle command, and say this area is going to have a different cut plane in it. So I can actually have different cut planes within the same plan. And then I can say finish sketch, and all I do is I form an area in there. Now that is what is called, if you hesitate, you'll see down in the lower left over here, it says it is a plan region. So I can click on that plan region, and within this plan I can have a varying view range for that particular area. So that's where I can say, okay, cut plane is relative to level 1, 1500. Hit OK, and then all of a sudden now I can see the windows in my split level, which are down there. So I have one cut plane here and one cut plane over there, which is what you really need for a split level. I could do the same thing with my regular floor plan over here. That was my ceiling plan. If I want to see that here, I can go into my plan region, same type of thing, do a rectangle. I find if you go right on the edge, sometimes it doesn't work quite the same. And we'll see what happens here. Finish sketch. Okay, now I grab that region, I change to be level 1, offset of 1200, hit apply and hit OK. And you see what happens is it doesn't show that window exactly right. So what I end up doing is clicking on this region and just clicking it out a bit, and now you'll see that window will show up better. Okay, similarly over here. Click on here, you have to be a little bit off of it, and all of a sudden that window will show up. Okay, so that's a really good one. We can get that out of the way. Plan region has a varying cut plane and region from the normal cut plane set to be specific to this view. If I right click on here and go to view properties, and I go into view range and I hit edit, this is the view range information. We'll talk about more in the next session on this particular plan, and then creating a plan region as an override. So ceiling plans we saw, and then when you add electrical, if we go to our components object and we're in our reflected ceiling plan here, and we go to component, we can either load or we can click on here and we can go find electrical objects. Now they might not be there, so let's go check our families down inside of here and see if I've got any lighting fixtures. I don't see any. Ceiling types. So then I would go into component and I would pick load and go to lighting fixtures, and then I can drag those objects down and place them onto my ceiling plan. And that's just component from in here. Grab that, and that's a family type that will be basically attaching to your ceiling plan, and you'll be able to see those. Okay, back to our views over here. Elevational views. Well, elevational views are pretty straightforward. Depending on where you are, you can create the elevational view. When you create your elevation view, you can say attach to grid, and it will move with the grid. You have a scale that you want to put on here, or you can reference a different view, which we can talk about a little bit later when we get to callouts. And as you place this view, you can take a different type of symbol, either two different circle symbols that are available, and then I can click on here and maybe hit edit and then change it inside of here as well. Okay, different tags and different annotation symbols that we can get to later on when we get to creating or adding in different components in the components section. So I'm adding in an elevation here, so I click on here and that's it. Notice as you go around the object, it turns, and if you have a rounded building, it'll actually point and go around that curve. So it's very smart, these objects, that as you place them, okay, it's putting them in, and you can see it's populating these elevations down in here. So really there's the elevation here, and this is if you check mark on here, then it'll create an elevation looking that way, and then clicking on the bubble takes it back, and then it erases that elevational view as you do that. When you click on the tip of the elevation, it gives you a different, this is one aspect, clicking on the tip of the elevation is another, and then it tells you here what it will encompass when it does its elevational view. The other thing is that if you right click after you click on an elevational object like that, and you right click and you go to view properties of that object, you have to make sure that down here it has a check mark with the clipping plane. And I'm in the view properties. I need to actually pick the properties of that object. So once I click on here and I right click, I don't want to pick view properties, I want to go to the actual properties of that object. And you have to make sure in here that the far clip is turned on, because if it's not, you'll hit OK, and what'll happen is you'll click on here and you won't really watch the difference. If you click on here, you can see where exactly that elevation is going, and if you click on this guy, sometimes you don't see it, and the reason why, right click, properties, put on that clipping plane, that'll get you every time, far clip plane active, hit OK, and then we're back in business. We can see where it is over there. Okay, elevations, once you do that, you click on here, and elevation is very much like a section. You double click on the bubble and it shows you what's there. You click on these objects, of course, and you drag them around, and 3D means it moves it in all views. And then from inside of there, you can create an elevation, and then you can actually edit and do line work on this elevation. If you want, you can go up here and go to tools, and you can say split face, and then what I can do is I can click on this wall right there, and it'll show me the outline of that wall. Now I can go in and I can just draw, for instance, a rectangle around this window like that, and then I can put proper dimensions in here. I can hit escape, take that and I'm going to use my nudge command and nudge that over a little bit with my arrow keys, and then I'm just going to finish the sketch, and what it's going to do is it's going to create a different little material opportunity for there. So now I can go up to this object, this painter here, and I can pick a different type of object, and I can go with just picking on anything, a door molding type, and then I can click on there and it'll actually change that particular type of object. Okay, I can go back, I can click on this edge, now I can go edit, and I can grab this and I can say copy, and from there to maybe over there, and then I could have said multiple copy and copy again from here to here. And then there's of course making custom windows. This is just kind of a very quick aspect. It doesn't have to be around a window. You might even want, this won't project out, and I finish my sketch. This is in but either a single. Okay, yeah, continue. And of course I can see the problem there is I'm not allowed to have, I have to split this in individual ways. So I can delete that, and I'm going to, in fact, I'll just quit this sketch and I'll do this. What I have to do is I've got to go back and actually to do that again, and I've got to go back and do another split face, click on here, and then of course now I can go back in and maybe have done a cut and paste and do that again that way, because I cannot copy the multiple in the same exercise. Just as an example, finish the sketch, add that in, and of course then I can go get my painter and then paint that being with this topic. So basically creating an elevation gives you a view. We can go back to this elevation over here. Oh, problem is, okay, we've got to move that up. Okay, this here, you hover over that, and that is the crop box. If you do a right click, you can go into view properties, and you'll see it right inside of here. It'll say crop region visible, whether you want to use it, whether you want to see it, and then the clip plane for the beyond point. So then that's inside of there, and you can make that so of course that won't plot when you drag it. And then once you're in here, you can type SD for shaded mode, or you can type HL for hidden line mode. View over here, okay, shading with edges, okay, that's the short commands inside of there. And then from there we can go back to our floor plans, and we can manipulate these by just basically grabbing these and moving them around. We can click on here and we can make this shorter if we want. Double click on here and it'll cut that section off. So that's that same regional box inside of here. And back to our level 1, clicking on there, working your way through it. And then in fact that's actually in part of the building, because if we look at our level 2, you can see what it's doing. It's actually giving me a section, because that is right inside the building. So I can move that over, click on here, move that back, so they're independently controlled. And then you can use different type of symbols, and as I drag this view onto a sheet, as I go down here to this elevational view and I drag that to a sheet, then the numbers will all coordinate back and forth between this section bubble, the actual elevation, and where it goes on my sheet. We saw that in the beginning couple of videos. So going back now, we just kind of move along to doing a section again. Level 1 doesn't matter, level 2, and we can, this section is a 3D object, so we can just drag and place it, click it inside of there. If we want the section bubble over here, we can click on this and get the section bubble if we want them on both. Double clicking on this part of the bubble will bring you to that actual section. Again, shaded up, maybe hidden line. Okay, we can move this back and forth. And there's our section in there. I'm not sure I had to do a refresh and get my my levels to come back in there. So so that works quite well. And now if we actually tile our windows, or if I was to go to say level 2, I can take that section mark and move it back, say within my stair. And if I go over here to my section, oops, do a refresh on that, you can see now it's cutting through my stair. So again, I can click on this, or I can click on this object, or I can move objects. I don't want to move that. or I can grab windows, for instance, inside of here, and then if I go to my level 1, I'll see that I have those windows selected, and I can either move them or erase them or do what I want like that. And then of course they're going to update. Now if I look at my elevation over here, I double click on that, it's going to bring up that elevation. When I look in that, those are the windows that I just moved over there. So when you create, the nice thing is when you create elevations, you can actually edit from these elevations, and as we saw earlier, you can align objects with each other in elevations, and you can manage those objects from here or from plan or from both. If you've got a bit more screen space, then you can tile your windows and do some editing, some nice editing while watching it in 3D and in 2 dimensions in a couple of different views. And this is our just inside of here, that is what we call our crop region. If we turn that on or off, and then we can make it so whether it's on or off or it's visible. We've seen that already. So we hit OK. So back to our main floor, it doesn't really matter where we make. So we have some elevations, we create them. If we click on this and we actually delete it, it's going to say we're deleting that elevation, which means it's going to remove itself from here. And of course we drag those down to our sheets. So back to our views, elevational views, we can go in a section which we've got inside of here. Now we can take that section, we can move it around, we can hit the break button, it'll create a break inside of there if we want to make and grab those points. Double click on here, and so if we can actually have part of that object line hide when we want to in the section line. Again, we can move this along. If we go in and we do a section, we can start a section going in this direction, and then we can break this, and then we can move those around as we please. We don't have to have this as we can just do these as small sections and large sections, and then once you click on here, of course, you'll go into that particular detail, and you can go in here. Now we can go down to the next one, which is a call out, and we can go in and we can say, okay, well, I want to call out in that area. Grab your section bubble after you create your section. Sorry, click on here, get that grip and move that up, for instance, over to here, and then I can double click on here, and now I'm actually going to that actual call out. So I can click on here and I can drag these out. Within here, of course, I can say coarse detail, fine detail, different levels of detail, and I can actually get in and start drafting on here. Okay, and the detailing stuff, which we'll get to a little bit later, where we can override and change objects inside of here from our from a different palette over here, a drafting palette. So there we've gone from, say, a second floor where we create a section, we double click on that section, and then we make a call out of that particular detail, and then if we drag this detail, which has now been placed in our sections, that's this right here. Okay, as we created this section, sorry, this call out, it got placed down in here, and I can, if I double click on, right here, double click on it, it actually goes to that call out, and then I can take this call out and I can drag it down onto a sheet from here to here, and the whole thing will coordinate all the way through, which is a really nice way of doing that. So now if we do a plan call out, it's a bit different. So if we go up into here, and this isn't a really detailed drawing, but I can go in and do a call out here. Now this call out will be different from the last call out because it's a plan call out, not a sectional call out. And if I double click on it here, I'm going to go in and it's going to create it. Well, this is, you'll notice it got placed up inside of here with floor plans. So then I can click on this. And also it's telling me that there's a section that's also tied in, which is very nice. So whole coordination between the fact that I've got a call out on here, I can go to the call out, and within the call out it's even telling me there's a section on here. I can right click on here and we'll see I can actually make that call out here not show up by turning off that object type inside of here. We can also go right down inside of here and just say hide that category, and it'll hide that itself as well, but it looks like it took the bubble with it, so we'll just undo that back. And let's see that one more time. Hide, let's just say hide object. There, that's what we want. So we can hide that just very quickly inside of here. if we so choose to, and we can reset that. So that's creating, back to doing our sections, okay, putting a section in as many as we want going. We do a lot of sections just to check things. We just click on there, we do a section, and then we might go in, zoom in, and we use our distance command to measure, you know, from here to here. It's going to tell us how far it is. That's all good. We can measure some distances across here. It's created that section down in here. Now if I want, I can just right click and I can delete that because maybe I don't need that section anymore. Again, all your numbers are tying back into each other. So we're using sections all the time to just draw and see what things look like. Just for clearance purposes or design purposes, we can go in, take a look, do a shaded view of that. Okay, if we have that again saved as this view, and little trick, remember, if we're in 3D and we go up here and we go view orient, we can go pick another view, and I can go grab that sectional view. Let's go back, and I've grabbed the wrong one there. View, I want the third one, and now I can do a shaded SD, and now shift right click. Okay, I can actually move that piece around. So that's very nice for when you're in designing and you want to explain things or show things, especially with our structural components and stuff like that. Back it off again and click in here, and then probably pull this back out to show the rest of our model. And that just happened to be a skewed one as well, that section, but for the most part got that inside of there. And go back to here, let's say. So clicking on there, delete that section is going to take it out. So, and then we've got a drafting view we're going to come back to a little bit more when we do some detailing. And cameras are very straightforward. We add a camera, we pick a point, we go into here, we add that camera. Once we add the camera in, we can move this camera. Because of the size, you don't really set a scale. What you do is you set the actual size of this rectangle to be physical dimensions inside of here. And if you say scale locked, then if you change this number to be 200, the ratio will line up approximately and do that. So you can take these objects, and when you drag these to a sheet, you know how big they're going to be when you put them on the sheet, because you've set that size. Once inside of there, if you want to go back to that camera view, you right click on here and you say show camera, and then what happens is on your plan views it's going to show you where that camera is. And then we can grab this and we can start to manipulate this around as we please, double clicking on it. Oh, back to here. Zoom in for my graphics a little bit, so a bit of a wide angle on that. Okay, so we can go in and create cameras with our view. Now notice some of it gets grayed out until we go back to regular plan, for instance. So we've got our callouts and our sections and our details. So callouts from sections, callouts from plans, all calling from here. Numbers are coordinating. Drafting view we're going to come back to. Camera view, we just add cameras in, and then we're also going to do a lesson later on walkthroughs where we can place a bunch of cameras in a path and a target, and the cameras will work their way around through there. So we really want to combine these last few lessons of creating these views and watching these views get managed inside of here, and combining that with our next topic, which will be the visibility graphics and viewing properties inside of this section right inside of here. So we're done with this, and we'll move on to this in the next section and hopefully try to tie up any loose ends.